Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, we've got some final thoughts about Saturday's home 5-2 loss to the Detroit Red Wings.
Now, no helmet giveaway after that one, but Nick DeFazio with the Ottawa Fire Service was a part of the handoff for this year's Player of the Game award, and he joins us to discuss.
Really cool backstory, so stay tuned for that conversation. And we have updates from Monday Senators practice, and we get expectations set for the week ahead. That's all coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 900 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. You can follow Locked On Senators on social media at Sens Central on Twitter, lockedon.senators on Instagram. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including on YouTube, where a like, a subscription, and a comment go a long way. We got to outnumber those Detroit Red Wings fans who are all over the YouTube. Thank you for your service. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. U.S. customers only for now. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Today is Monday, October 23rd, and Pilsy, that welcome was meant for a milestone. Congratulations, buddy. 900 episodes. That's more than a few.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go on for 900 seconds there as you really had the W going there for a while, but it's awesome. And 900th episode, just the beginning also.
I figured that was a better lead than saying, is Alex DeBrincat the best player in the NHL?
Okay, we gotta stop with this, Ross. You were texting me nonstop yesterday. I told you I don't want the updates. I don't want the following. It's like following your ex-girlfriend on social media sites when you just broke up and they're in the rebuilding stage. You don't want to see any of that. You don't want to see it. You don't need to follow along. Just go on living your life. I don't care that Alex DeBrincat may have scored once, twice, or maybe even 3 times in last night's game. Don't care.
Well, I will make amends then and say that the only game Alex DeBrincat has not gotten a point in this year
is a game that he was supposed to get a goal in Pilsy's parlay of the day.
I forgot about that. Oops.
God.
You got the alternate parlay hit because neither he nor Dominic Kubalik scored a goal in that game. Kubalik still looking for his first point as a member of the Ottawa Senators. The Sens through 5 games now, still 3-2. They're still looking all right. You know, we're not going to hit the panic button just yet. But to say that the next week is enormous, I think, is an understatement. You got the Buffalo Sabres coming to town tomorrow, divisional matchup. They're going to be on the second half of back-to-back. Then the Islanders and Pittsburgh on Saturday. Like, those are 3 opponents who you think you might be battling for in the wild card race this season. We'll get to that at the end of the show, Pilsy. I want to, we usually say put a bow on it. Like, we put a bow on a gift after we wrap it. This, I want to tie a knot on like a garbage bag and throw it out in the trash. Like, you look, all aspects of this game just kind of bothered me. The flow, there was none. 17 minor penalties in this game. And the only major penalties, Brady Tkachuk fighting another scrub. Doesn't have to do it. I know he was trying to engage with Moritz Seider, who, Seider's a big guy. We know he's not really a fighter, but he's a big guy. He can take care of himself. But a bigger guy had to come in and deal with it. 6'6" Michael Rasmussen came in and he left one of his gloves on. It was just weird overall. The whole game just had zero flow at all. And the most unfortunate part is something that Sens fans were hoping to happen in that game. Alex DeBrincat getting popped with a clean hit ultimately was the demise of any flow of this game because the penalty there, they score 7 seconds in. Ottawa gets an early power play in the second period, which, I'm not taking anything away from Detroit. Each team had power play opportunities. One team took advantage of it. The other team didn't. But after that failed power play at the start of the second period, the Red Wings just took over the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the reffing obviously wasn't great, but I feel like this is one of those games, Ross, where in the pregame meeting for the refs, they were like, "Okay, the emotion is going to be high about DeBrincat. We got to keep this tight. We got to be calling guys as soon as there's any sort of emotion being involved." And that's when the Ridley Gregg hit. That's probably exactly what they were looking for, and that's what they wanted to kind of snuff out, even though I think I haven't seen a single person online, regardless of their fandom or bias, say that should have been a penalty. I've only seen people saying what that should not have been a penalty. But
I found a couple.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had to be Red Wings fans.
Of course. But here's the rationale. And I'll tell you what my comeback to that is they're saying that his left hand was a little high right around the collar area. Well, what do you want him to do? Like push down? Like he didn't go up. And it's not like Ridley Gregg's 6'5". He's like 5'11". So if he's going like straight out, and if it's like above the chin, sure. But if it's like that's not roughing, that's just finishing your hit. I don't know. I thought it was as clean of a hit as you can get. And we saw it last night. There was a much later hit. Charlie McAvoy on Trevor Zegras, no penalty. It was definitely not late. It was clean as can be. And I almost think the loss it wasn't worth it. You obviously want the 2 points, but seeing DeBrincat get up from that and trying to chase down Ridley Gregg, like Ridley Gregg is an absolute menace. And that's what he's going to bring year in and year out to his NHL career. He's only going to get more confident in what he can bring physically to the table.
Well, and Ross, not only that, but man, this guy has a knack for getting under players' skin. I feel like every game this year, there's been a guy like Tom Wilson is not a Ridley Gregg guy. Like there's been a guy on the other team that's just furious with Ridley Gregg. And then Gregg scores a goal on top of that as well. Now, I will say that play, Ridley Gregg on Alex DeBrincat, I wouldn't say it's clean hit as could be. I would say that's right where the line is. Like that's right about where the line is. I'm still on the side that it didn't cross the line, but that's right about where you want that line for a clean hit and roughing, in my opinion. So
we had multiple people, including Mark Mathod on Friday, and we brought up that Chris Neal on Danny Heatley hit when he was with Minnesota. We tweeted that out. You can search it up if you want to see it, but this was 10 times the bigger hit.
Yeah. So like, it was a frustrating game, Ross, because just the way the Sens came out in that first period, they were dominating. Korpisalo, tough timed goals to happen, like you mentioned. The one that gets scored at the end of the period, that's a momentum killer. And then the one that gets scored at, I think, at the start of the third period. Like those are those momentum goals we talk about, Ross, and they caused the shift in momentum. And then at that point, the Sens are just too far out of it, even though they've dominated in every other statistical category of the game other than the scoreboard, and power play essentially is what ends up deciding this game. And you know what? We got to give stick taps to Ville Husso. He played a good game.
Yeah, Ville Husso played great. And to me, it was the David Perron goal, the 3-1 goal, because that was where...
Or no, the 4-1 goal for me was the killer.
The Larkin won 28 seconds into the third period. No, for me, it's because Korpisalo made like 3 10-bell saves.
Yeah. That's the thing. People were getting so hard on Korpisalo, and obviously I'm a goalie hugger, so I'm going to come to goalies' aids, but this loss was not on Korpisalo. No chance.
You do need more than a 783 save percentage, though, in a game. Like, you got to, like, I know it's not easy, and especially you texted the group chat was saying, like, hey, he hasn't gotten any work. The shots.
That's what I was worried about.
15-2, whatever it was early in the game. And you're like, oh, the first one. And ultimately the first one ended up being just a little flip shot down. And hey, by the way, Korpisalo, you know how usually you go like glove behind your stick when there's a puck coming down? He's standing up 2 hands. Like, I'm nervous when a puck gets popped on him. Did you notice that though?
I don't like when Corpy plays the puck. It makes me so nervous. And it just feels like he's doing it unnecessarily. Now, I know a lot of attendees, they're like, I know, obviously, I can't play the puck as well as a defenseman, but you got to let me play the puck so I can just at least feel in the game, especially Korpisalo at that point, hardly any shots throughout this whole game. So I get that, but it just feels like him and the defenseman don't quite have the communication down or know each other's tendencies. And it makes me a little bit nervous every time he touches the puck because I'm not sure what he's going to do with it.
Neither. But I'm with you. Like, he made 5 or 6 highlight reel saves.
Yeah.
He let in probably one, like that that Joe Veleno second goal, he probably wants to have it from that angle, short side.
But I think that was a 2-on-1 goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, but still,
obviously you want to get that one, but I'm not putting that one on Corpy.
No, but like a 2-on-1 goal when you've already let in 20% of the shots, like bear down, make a save. Like that's all I'm saying here. At that point in the game, it's like, hey, you got to battle. He said at the end, he's like, I got to give the team more saves. He does.
There's no way around that. I'm just saying for people that were putting this loss on him, in my opinion, that's too much.
No, and we don't talk about the refs on this show, but again, 17 minor penalties in this game.
But the reffing didn't advantage one team or the other, in my opinion.
No, it didn't. Ottawa went 1 for 6 on the power play, and Detroit went 3 for 5. That's the game right there. And I know Wings fans will say, well, it's still 2-1 otherwise. I mean, the flow of this game would have been completely different if both teams were given less penalties. Like, I would have loved to see a 5-5. Detroit's a wagon, because I know we've got some Detroit fans who are listening to this just looking for something that we say to get mad at. Like, you made your comment saying that DeBrincat, it was classic DeBrincat missing a chance. Like, classic. Oh, spreading misinformation. No, it's called a joke. And I mean, last year had 1 goal through his first 5 games with Ottawa. Now he's got 8. So yeah, of course we're bitter. But at the same time, it's all in good fun. I thought it was a funny comment, Pilsy. But all that said, you look at what this game deteriorated into. It was momentum goals. It was special teams. And Ville Husso made some amazing saves. I'll give him that. But that doesn't take away from my frustration with the Senators' top players. They need to be better. Tim Stützle in particular. 2 giveaways that led directly to goals against, Pilsy. Directly to goals against.
Yeah, now, I mean, with Tim Stützle, it's kind of the Jason Spezza effect. I'm going to take the good with the bad because, like, he is really successful at his zone entries most of the time. Like, the Senators, the power play of the pass where Thomas Chabot does the drop play and then the next person just wastes it, like, that was the worst thing. But the drop pass with Stützle really seems to work. He had a couple zone entries where he's deacon through like 4 Red Wings guys and then had it poked away at the last second. So, obviously, that's not what you want, but I have decided with Tim Stützle, I'm going to take the good with the bad as far as it goes with the turnovers trying to enter the zone because it's 50-50. But yes, they do. 2 of them did lead directly to goals, especially I think it was the last one.
Yeah, the last one was for the 2-on-1
yes,
that Veleno scored. Now, the first Veleno goal, you just have to tip your hat. That pass by Christian Fischer behind his back, that classic where you take the goalie to his second window where he looks the heck across, and like that's just a great goal.
It was a perfect play. Yeah.
Tip your hat on that. And I guess you take solace in the fact that Alex DeBrincat got absolutely nothing except rocked into the boards early in this game. And the last note, and hey, Brady asked who wants it. I guess the team mentality, the pack mentality worked for Detroit. Ottawa got a power play out of it. They took advantage of it in the first period. Jake Sanderson got the goal, but it was kind of funny watching 3.5. We'll give DeBrincat the half on there for the last push, but to take him down in front of the net. And that set the tone, I'm sure, in their locker room and their team on their bench saying, hey, we're not going to get pushed around this game. And it ended up deteriorating. Like, I tweeted out at Sens Central, Pilsy. I just said, like, as a hockey fan, that game sucked. Like, if you're a hockey fan watching that with no fan hope of who wins, you don't have any money on either team, you're like, wow, that was not a fun hockey game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the first period, it was setting up to be a fun game, and it should have been a fun game with all the emotions involved, but yeah, it ended up turning into a weird game. But yeah, that's the thing too. Like, all the Red Wings fans that were taking their victory lap, rightfully so. Like, they won the game, but we'll take that. That was a painful postcast for me to go through personally, to be honest. But hey, this is going to be a good rivalry that continues on. The Sweden game's going to be electric, and hey, we got nothing but love for our boys over at Locked On Red Wings. Shout out Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. So, Red Wings fans, instead of hassling us, why don't you go check them out? They deserve a little extra love.
And hit us with like an LGRW, like the Let's Go Red Wings. That's cool. But when you get into like, do better, fellas, it's like, the show's not for you. So it's all good there, Pilsy. And we don't have to get into the fact the Red Wings beat Pittsburgh. They beat Tampa just like Ottawa did. Somebody's saying like, oh, you don't think those are great, tough teams? They're like, well, they're under 500. They have 4 wins in 11 combined games at this point in the season. That's neither here nor there. I want to get to Nick DeFazio. What a fun conversation. A behind the scenes of the behind the scenes, because if you saw, the Senators posted a video of Nick and a fire chief with the Ottawa Fire Service going to the rink and handing off the Player of the Game MVP helmet. He tells us about that and his thoughts on the Ottawa Senators today. We'll get into that. And on the other side, practice updates and expectations for the week. Buffalo, Islanders, Penguins. That's all next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Sleeper. The NHL season is off to an exciting start, and if you want to win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. For now, only available to our U.S. listeners. We're working on trying to bring it north of the border, but there's so many possible scenarios for the season, and if you want a chance at winning big, you got to play daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper. As the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network, Sleeper is our top choice for fantasy sports, daily fantasy, especially hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. There's so many top talented players that you can take around the league. Brady Tkachuk, Claude Giroux, Jake Sanderson, Drake Batherson, obviously are the top dogs for the Sens. What I love about the Sleeper app is all the group chat functionality. You can talk smack. You can keep up with all your buddies that are playing along as well. And entries can be made in under 1 minute. So it's 6:58. You're trying to get your entries in before the 7 o'clock puck drops. You still got time to do it. It's quick on Sleeper app. So use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Available only in the U.S. for now.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Farm to Fork, farmtoforkdelivery.ca. It's a premium meat and seafood delivery service that's all about flavor. It's all about raising them naturally with no antibiotics, no hormones, and the fact that it is so convenient to pull in one by one out of your freezer. Literally, these are vacuum sealed, frozen at the butcher's table. That is sealing in as much freshness as possible. And that way you don't have to stand there smashing your frozen meat together, trying to separate it. Each one is so smooth, so easy. And then you want to invite the fellas over, have a barbecue. You already know that you're set. You can pull, I got 6 boys coming over. Boom, 6 steaks, maybe an extra for me or the dog. And then you get on with it from there. Now, you can get almost anything at farmtoforkdelivery.ca. Go check out their bundles right now. They always have specials that are coming and going. And because you're a listener of Locked On Senators, you can use promo code LOSP10 for 10% off your first purchase. Now, you say the barbecue season is coming to an end. I say that it's comfort food season. That's steaks. That's all these great foods that you can get on and off the grill. And hey, they've also got seafood. They've got everything. Go check them out, farmtoforkdelivery.ca, and use promo code LOSP10 for 10% off your first purchase. Taste the farm to fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. All right, now our conversation with Ottawa Fire Service's Public Information Officer here is Nick DeFazio. All right, we now welcome on a very special guest. He's a public information officer with the Ottawa Fire Service, and he just had a chance meeting with the captain of your Ottawa Senators last week. Nick DeFazio, welcome to Locked On Senators. How are you doing today, sir?
No, thanks so much for having me, and congrats on episode 900.
Hey, thank you very much. It's a nice little milestone for us, but hey, a nice feather in your cap or helmet. Literally, the Ottawa Senators will be giving away this year as the player of the game a perfectly legit Ottawa Fire Services helmet. It looks great. It's already been handed out 3 times. Jacob Chikrin, Brady Tkachuk, and Josh Norris have already earned the honor, and what a great way to connect the community with the team. Now, my question for you is, how did this all come about? What was the initial idea, and how did it all become executed?
Yeah, so first off, I got to say, didn't Chikrin look the most like a firefighter, though, when he was wearing it?
Oh, yeah.
I think he could be a firefighter. They probably all could. But you know what? This was kind of a chance thing. I was volunteering with the Ottawa Fire Service at McHappy Day. And I was with someone else that I work with. And the Senators had 2 execs there as well at the same location I was at. I come from a big hockey family, so I was just talking hockey with one of them. And then at the end, we kind of said we should do something together. We both have these big brands in our city, and we exchanged business cards. And then I was just kind of looking at his card on my desk one day, and I was just kind of thinking, what could we do? And then I thought of this idea. I remembered the tanning goggles from last year, and I thought this might be a bit of an upgrade. Although I don't know the story behind that. I don't know if you guys do, but I bet you I meant to ask.
We can fill you in quickly after, yeah.
Yeah, I meant to ask Brady what that was when I met him. But so I sent an email to the exec that I was working with or volunteering with at McHappy Day, and he absolutely loved the idea. I still think the best part too is we can have custom shields made for the front of fire helmets, and I offered that thinking like MVP Senator or something, and he wrote back saying no, we want to keep it authentic and honor the people that fight for us every day. And I thought, wow, what an honor! So that was a really nice gesture. So that's how it all came about. And then the videographer got wind of it, and then wanted to video us bringing it in. And also came to the station a couple of weeks ago and did a bunch of videos of us doing different things for their opening video that plays before each game. It's kind of a narrated, you may have seen it. It's like a narrated video of the community, and we're featured in that as well. So it kind of snowballed into that too, which was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the connection and the relationship you're building. Now, Ross, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the tanning goggles, that was Nick Holden, one of the veteran defensemen that was on the team last year. He had tanning goggles that he always used because I guess he was one of the guys that gets out to those tanning salons, and someone found them and they thought that was pretty funny. So they just kept going on with that. I think that was the idea behind it.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's a great story, though. I'll buy it. Hey, it's better than that chain they used for the one game last year. I think they had to throw that out most importantly.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so they only had it for one game, but that's the thing with the game win props is it has to feel natural, or there has to be some sort of meaning for the players behind it. But like Ross said, they had the Sens chain, and that's literally a necklace you can buy at the Sens store that they were just trying to promote their product or whatever, which is fine, whatever, but it didn't have any oomph to it. Whereas now after the tanning goggles, you get the fire helmet, and it's got some real value to it. So from your standpoint, Nick, like you mentioned, you met them and you wanted to do something, and this felt like the right thing. How important is it for not only Ottawa Fire, but also the Ottawa Senators to both kind of support each other in the Ottawa community?
Yeah, I mean, like when we were talking, and Ottawa Fire is a big brand, and they're a big brand, and other brands like Chio and stuff. We did stuff with a few weeks ago too. Like these brands coming together in our city and showing that we're all connected, I think is really important. Chio being another big brand in Ottawa. So when this came together, then certain things start happening I find that you don't even know about. So like when we handed off the helmet, and Brady said that his grandfather was a captain, and I believe it came out that it was in Boston Fire that he was a captain. So that's always great when these things happen. Then the fire chief himself, he's got a Stutzla jersey. He's a big Sens fan. He has two boys that are big Sens fans. So when I approached him and said, do you want to come deliver this helmet? He's the nicest guy. And, you probably saw from the video, he's so personable. He was all for it. And, we went on Thanksgiving Sunday to deliver it. And then we also invited a deputy chief. So that's the second highest rank in the fire service. He's a longtime season ticket holder, and his 8-year-old son you saw in the video, who's a diehard Brady Tkachuk fan.
That's awesome. So take us behind the scenes of that video, like getting to the rink and everything that went on that day.
Yeah, so we actually bought a case to put it in on Amazon because we know how superstitious sports players can be. So we bought this case that was actually meant for football helmets. So we put it in, and it was bowing a bit because the fire helmet was a bit bigger. So we were worried that as we were walking in, it was going to go like boom, explosion. But the fire chief himself is quite handy, and he glued it in his garage and made sure that it was nice. And that's why we said, do you want to touch this or do you want to wait? Because we know how superstitious they can be. But you saw Brady, he was hilarious. He's like, we're going to get a lot. It was a good line. We're going to get a lot of wins this year. Yep. So let's put it on. And again, just for 24 years old, just so humble and personable. And you saw he's like, I'm just going to put it on. And he's like, how do I look? And everyone was kind of laughing. And he's, I'm going to put it on my big bucket, he said. And, but no, behind the scenes was great. The part that impressed me the most, I think, was the deputy fire chief's son. His name is Benson. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm brutal for when I meet people. I meet them, and then 2 seconds later, I forget their name.
Yeah.
And Benson you saw he was just starstruck with Brady, and Brady signed his jersey and then signed his poster that he made. They had a practice right after, so they invited Benson to come watch the practice. And he was in the stands with his dad, who's Deputy Chief Adams. And I guess DJ turned behind and said, "Hey, are you Benson?" Which means Brady remembered his name, passed it along to the chief, and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Come watch from the bench." So they invited him down to the bench. He got to watch the practice. The players were all coming up saying hi to him, apparently. And then after the practice, Brady said to Deputy Chief Adams, "Do you want to stay for a tour of the dressing room and the facilities? Do you have 5 minutes while we get changed?" And he's like, "Absolutely." So they took Benson for a full tour. He said, "Pick a stick on my rack." He's like, Benson picked one. He's like, "This is a good one. I scored a goal with this one," autographed it for him. I guess on his way to the meeting, Benson got a Tim Stützle card from McDonald's. So I guess Stützle was getting a massage. So Brady walked up to me and said, "Hey, can you sign this? You're his second favorite player," and just chirped him a little. Took him into the lounge area, the gym, all the areas. And I guess before he left, he said, which is amazing, he says, "Is there anyone else that you haven't seen that you want to meet?" So just really nice, taking care of this 8-year-old who will never forget this. And I was really impressed by that.
I hope he said Zoob.
Yeah, Zoop for sure. Yeah. No, I don't know. I think he just stared at him probably because he was so starstruck.
Oh, yeah. No, that's awesome, man. And that's just par for the course of what it sounds like Brady's like, off camera. We had his dad on a couple of weeks ago, Keith, and you can tell that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree either. Eh, Pills?
Yeah, the Kachucks are just good salt of the earth people. Now, Nick, this is your debut on a podcast. It's a Sens podcast, so I got to ask. You got any hot Sens takes for us? How you feeling about the guys so far this year?
You know what? I'm not going to lie. When a few years, I was a diehard Sens fan, knew everything about the team, even in the AHL, I could tell you every player. And then obviously went through some rough times with the old owner, and I lost a bit of interest. And I live close to Navan, so if I'm going to make a trek to that game, it's got to be worth it. And I want the investment coming from both ends, right? So one of my best friends invited me to the home opener, and I went, and let me tell you, like, there is something about the team right now that's really buzzing, and it was absolutely packed. Standing room was packed, like right to the brim. People were jumping out of their Ubers on Palladium to race across the field to make it on time because the traffic was so heavy. Then Slewage came out to sing "O Canada," and the place went crazy. I don't know, were either you guys there? It was wild. And we threw out the kiss and the thumbs up. Everyone went nuts. And they've brought Alfie back now. And then again, when these things start rolling, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I heard after the game that there was a lineup of people to shake the new owner's hand. That they waited. I thought that was amazing. And then, of course, connecting with us and having a really cool, I didn't know this going into this, but that they film behind the scenes giving out the award after every game, which I think is amazing. So you get a little behind the scenes there. So there's someone on Twitter now that has started like a fire helmet leadership board.
We got to find them. That's clutch.
Yeah. So they photoshopped a photo of our helmet in there and the names and everything. So I think everything's just going really right for this team right now. And, the fans are really behind it. And I think that's amazing.
That's a perfect place to leave it off, Nick, because you mentioned it, the hype around this team, and you just got to hope they get through November because the last couple of years it's been tough, and we want to make sure that helmet gets in constant rotation. It can't be sitting for too long. Yeah. I've got a question for you, actually. Is there, obviously it's a sign of everything you guys do, but is there a story behind or an aura of what the helmet is for? It's obviously a very unique looking helmet.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So that's actually a New York style fire helmet. So when you look at that helmet, that's a very traditional look. Often people will say that's the coolest look of a fire helmet. So we have those ones, and we have another version too now that we're introducing on the floor, as we call it, like the suppression members that'll be wearing them. But that one there, that would be one. The black one is the one you get on when you first get on as a firefighter. Then you'll have red ones for captains and lieutenants. You'll have white ones for chiefs. We felt black made the most sense. I know their New Jersey's black. Although Brady is a captain, the helmet's going around the room. So not everybody else would the red one wouldn't be so fitting. So we went black, traditional style. And I think it looks pretty good when they hand it out for sure. That's a nice looking helmet.
It looks so good. Awesome.
Yeah. Nick. And I made a deal with them. I said, you win the cup, you got to use this every year. So
yeah.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Right? Of course.
I agree more. I got goosebumps even just hearing that. Let's make playoffs first and then
and have a quick start, right? Like you said, October, November's got to be get off to that quick start. It makes a big difference.
It's got to be dialed in. Nick, we really appreciate the insight.
Yeah.
What a really cool moment, because they had the bike helmet and shades the first year, which
safety
was funny.
first.
It was hilarious. Then they had the tanning goggles last year's okay, but this is more meaningful than any of the others, and it looks awesome too. So that's 100%. Great, man. It's really cool, and we appreciate all the work that you and your whole team does there, Nick.
Thank you.
We appreciate you joining us today on the show.
Yeah, great show. Keep up the great work, and you're closing in on that 1,000. So you have to get a silver microphone or something, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations, and thanks for having me.
Stick taps to Nick for joining us. Really fun conversation, and stay tuned for some more collaborations coming with the Ottawa Fire Service in the future. All right, coming up after a quick break, we've got a week ahead preview and an update from Senators practice. You're listening to Locked On Sens.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Guys, passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It also is what keeps your ride or die ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed like Jake Sanderson, power like Brady Tkachuk, or style like Drake Batherson, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. It's simple. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Shawarma Palace. You know how much I love Shawarma Palace. I'm still craving more. We had it last week, almost a week ago today, Pillsy. You and I were eating Shawarma Palace, and you can too by going to any of their 7 Ottawa locations. They started in 1997 with just one little shop. But with the great community of Ottawa and putting out a superior product, Shawarma Palace has grown into 7 different locations. Also available on Uber Eats. If you want to get delivery, Uber Eats is your place for Shawarma Palace. You can go get the platter. It's honestly 2 hands on the stick is a hockey term. 2 hands on the platter is important because this thing is heavy. It's got hummus. It's got garlic sauce. It's got salad. It's got rice. It's got potatoes. It's got chicken. Oh, it's so delicious. It's also got those pickled turnips that I love so much. You can also get the sandwich. Everything is always fresh, and it's always at Shawarma Palace. So go eat like a royal today. Go eat at Shawarma Palace. All right, Pillsy. Before we get to the week ahead, 900 episodes. Do you have a favorite memory in our 900 episodes? What's your favorite episode we've ever done?
Ooh, favorite episode. I mean, honestly, I probably got to go back to when we finally got Tim Stützle on the show, Ross. You worked very hard to make that happen. We weren't sure if it was going to happen. We sent him a link and said, hey, we're going to be here at this time. And he didn't answer us. And then, boom, he just showed up on the link. And we're like, hey, we got Tim Stützle. Let's hit it. And that was one of we were very green at that point. So that was a brand new interview experience for us. And getting to show Timmy my Umlaut jersey after, and then some are saying that is what caused the NHL to change their ruling on putting umlauts on jerseys, was a huge momentum boost for us. And hey, we're just changing the culture around here, being more accepting to umlauts around the league. So that was probably one of my favorites because that was an absolute blast.
Yeah, now Brandy's got his dots too on the A and the O in his last name. That's a great call, and what a rookie move by us stopping the recording for that. We got the
Yes.
photo of it, but now we've learned that you leave it recording just in case. My favorite, I'll go with last year's home opener against Boston, because it was the first time that you and I ever were able to record a podcast sitting next to each other in the room the day after. I had absolutely no voice. We started the episode with the sway, man. That was just awesome. And it was a long time coming to get the capabilities of doing live coverage and live events. And so that one's got to be high on the list for me.
Nice. Well, comment below your favorite LOSP episode of all 900, because I'm interested to see what the fans latch onto.
Yeah, even whether it's, and this is only the episodes. Like, we're not counting the Ring of Honors. We're not counting the behind the blogs. We're not counting the postcast.
Yeah.
The content's gone way beyond 900, but 900 daily podcasts of the Locked On Senators started back November of 2019. But when the pandemic started, we decided to really kind of dig our feet and teeth into the 2020 draft. And, you know, you guys answered, the citizens came out, the numbers kept growing, and you guys really inspired us to keep this thing rolling. And we are just getting started, as Pilsy said. I'm already getting my chops ready for 1,000 episodes and beyond. Now, the timing, and Chicken Run made a good point. Maybe it's around clinch the playoffs, or maybe imagine if it times out that it is the first playoff game that we've ever gotten to cover at Locked On Senators.
One can dream.
One can dream. All right. Well, I can dream of a 3-0 week ahead. I don't think that's realistic if we're looking at expectations. But before we get to the week ahead, let's look at the day that was in Sens land, because the Ottawa Senators were on the ice at practice today, and there was one notable absence. Two, I guess, but one of them we half expected. Now, Jacob Bernard-Docker was sent down to Belleville after the game on Saturday, gets a 1 day of, actually he's on a one-way contract. So maybe they really thought that Artem Zub was going to be back. Zub was not on the ice at practice, and Jacob Bernard-Docker has been recalled by the Ottawa Senators. Zub will not play tomorrow, per coach DJ Smith. However, Thomas Chabot will play, but he wasn't on the ice at practice. Pilsy, that's his second maintenance day in only the matter of 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, I will start this off. Brandon Piller, not a doctor. I have no clue what's going on with Thomas Chabot or Artem Zub, really. But that many maintenance days this early for Thomas Chabot is a little bit concerning. I think that's fair to say. You're wondering if there's going to be something that's going to have a lingering effect throughout the season. And then with Artem Zub, like I mentioned, although I'm not a doctor, I do know a lot of people that have kind of had ear issues in the past, and it can have a major effect on your body. Like DJ Smith said, it was causing Zub to feel very dizzy, and that can be something that could linger. Hopefully that's not the case, but I really thought with the Zub being, JBD being sent down, that was a good sign that Zub was going to be back and ready for Tuesday's game, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Actually, it is not the case.
Only 5 defensemen in practice. Why isn't our guy Mark Mathot out there?
I mean, yeah, it'd be great to get Meth back out there. They could use a right-hand physical guy to replace Zub, so I'd be down for that.
Lefty, come on. You know Meth better than that.
Oh, yeah, geez, that is my bad. That's my bad.
Come on. Hey, he throws hip checks left and right. But no, funny enough, I don't know how it was. I need to go and watch DJ. I saw the clip. I saw the quotes, but he was asked about Mark Mathot. He said anytime he wants to come down to practice, let us know. Now, all jokes aside, though, they did switch up the D pairs. How do you like the look of the new top 4? Jake Sanderson playing with Eric Brandstrom, and then Jacob Chychrun with Travis Hamonic.
I'm not sure if these are going to stay like this or if this is just something they're trying since Thomas Chabot wasn't here. Look, I'm a Brandy guy, but he has not played well this year, and switching him to the right side and having him play with Sanderson, basically the shutdown guy, is a very interesting move if that is the case here. But Brandy's numbers, Corsi-wise, with all other defensemen have been good. He's been known to be able to kind of move around and kind of adapt with different partners. And we've said it, Jake Sanderson is the litmus test for this team. Can you be a quality defenseman or at least can contribute at a decent rate? Well, if we put you with Sanderson and you can't, then you're out of here. Like, you're probably not going to make it with anyone else. So this is a big opportunity for Branson if this is how the lines stay.
It really is a huge opportunity. And I know the game against the Red Wings left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, myself included, but it should be noted that it's just one game. It was still a very successful week for the Ottawa Senators. And you look at TSN, who does their weekly power rankings. They have the Senators as the top Canadian team right now. Higher than Toronto, higher than Montreal, higher than Edmonton. And Vancouver's right up there too. But Ottawa, number one among Canadian teams with
Best in class.
Best in class, baby. Best in class. The forward lines of practice all stayed the same. Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux, Norris, Kubalik, Batherson, Greg, Joseph, Tarasenko. Almost said Pinto. No. Still no update on Shane Pinto. We'll let you know as soon as we hear anything. And then the fourth line is Rourke Chartier, Parker Kelly, and Mark Kastelik. It looks like all signs are pointing to Anton Forsberg starting in goal against Buffalo. Very unsurprising there. Now, Pilsy, here's how I'll transition into the week ahead. If Forsberg, how well does Forsberg have to play on Tuesday to get the start on Thursday?
Not that well, in my opinion. I'm happy they're going to Forsberg for this one. And again, I'll reiterate, I'm not down on Corpy 3 games into his Senators season here. But Forsberg is a guy that I have more trust in right now. Personally, Forsberg's always been a very trustworthy goalie to put in. So I would have no issue if they go Forsberg against the Sabres, then Forsberg again against the Islanders. Because I really think I don't like the idea. I know you've been on the other side of this, but I don't like the idea of just flip-flopping all the time just for the sake of flip-flopping. You got to give goalies an opportunity to get in the groove and feel like they can be rewarded for good play. So if Forsberg can get another win tomorrow, he's 3 for 3. He should earn himself an opportunity to keep things going here. So I'd like to see that if that's the case.
Yes, and those 2 latter games this week are on the road. They're on Long Island. First time since Kevin Mandolese got his first NHL win, shootout win on Long Island last season. And then the House of Horrors for the Ottawa Senators, the Pittsburgh Penguins, that stupid air horn that goes off in that arena. I don't like playing the Penguins, but they have looked old and slow so far this season. So Ottawa got the win in Halifax by a 3-0 score. Korpisalo was in net for that one. Both teams played all their top.
Yeah, get Corpy in the game for that one. Yeah, good callback, Ross.
Okay, so you're going to go Forsberg Tuesday, Forsberg Thursday on Long Island, and then Korpisalo in Pittsburgh on Saturday. I like that. Let us know in the comments how you want to see the goaltending go this week. Now, your expectations, Pilsy, what has to happen for the Ottawa Senators this week?
I'm sure Sens fans will call me out for being too conservative on this, but I think these 3 games, you got to set the bar. So at minimum, you got to go 1-1-1. You got to get 3 out of 6 possible points here. And Ross, do you want me announcing this, or do you want to announce it, or are we going to wait for tomorrow's show? How we feel about tomorrow's game?
No, wait for tomorrow's show.
Let's tease it.
Tomorrow's also going to be an exciting day because we already covered a little bit on Thursday and or Friday's episode with Craig Anderson being signed to a 1-day contract, retiring as a member of the Sens. So tomorrow will be a great show. We're going to record right after. I'm assuming there's going to be a press conference in the morning with Craig Anderson. So we'll record right after that. I've reached out to Nicole, Craig's wife, to see if she wants to come on, share her memories of her time in Ottawa. So it'd be great if sometime this week we get to chat with Nicole. We've also got Doodling Daryl as our citizen coming on Wednesday. So it's going to be a great week, lots to get to. But Pilsy, we'll save our exact. What I will ask you to do is power rank the importance of the 3 games, because to me, like, they're almost equal.
Easy.
Those last 2 games are almost equal because they're both going to be in the wild card hunt.
Nope, super easy for me. The Buffalo game is the absolute most important. It's on a tier of its own, so draw a line under Buffalo next tier.
You can do 2 tiers, I think.
Yeah, honestly, you could do a couple tiers lower for the other guys, and you got to beat Pittsburgh. Like, I don't like the New York Islanders. I don't feel any kind of way about them. Like, I don't care. There's no like rivalry. There's no oomph behind that. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, that is a legit Sens rival. I would say they're closer to the Sens in the playoff race than the Islanders are. And
the Islanders have Ilya Sorokin. That is a complete game changer, though.
Definitely. But I want to see Karlsson lose as much as possible in a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey. It makes me sick to my stomach that he plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I don't want there to be any happiness or joy for Karlsson in that jersey.
Hey, they've gotten off to a slow start. The Penguins are 2-3 so far this season, and they are going to both the Islanders and the Penguins are going to be sitting at home waiting for Ottawa. Both of them play Colorado 2 nights before. So funny enough, they're just a random scheduling quirk. So we'll have plenty of time to preview those games. Pilsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Final thoughts for me is I'm going to do a little plug for our guy at Leams Martian. Guys, you're missing Sens hockey. You want to get in the mix, but they don't play tonight. Well, luckily, at Leams Martian's Twitch stream is going live at 6:30 tonight. So follow along with Martian and his season of the Sens.
I love that. My final thoughts, I want to give a little shine to the Belleville Senators, who had their most attended home opener in franchise history right after the inaugural season. Basically, we need to know, and I'm assuming Andlauer was at the game on Saturday and then drove to Belleville, but he was there on Saturday night. I was going to say if Andlauer's at the game, they're going to win, but he was probably at the Ottawa game with the afternoon. It wouldn't have, been the same time. Can't be two places at once, Pilsy. Don't know if you know that. But with all that said, great game. And Zach McEwen, AHL MVP, 2 goals in his return to the AHL. And it just shows you the level that the NHL is at. Like, he looks a step behind. He looks, almost lost at times at the NHL level. But you put him one level below, one of the second or third best league in the world. You could say a European league would be right up there. And boom, he's an all-star. Like, we talked to our guy Footy, the play-by-play voice, the Belleville Sens. He's like, he is so good at this level.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I want him to get his confidence level up. So hopefully he can kind of transition that back up to Ottawa if he gets the chance. And Ross, we got to shout out the K-Chain getting in a scrap. Woo!
It was tape. You got to get tape to learn from it. And that was his first fight ever. There's no fighting in NCAA. He didn't fight in his 8 games with Ottawa last season. I would hand him a USB. Do people still have USB? I would hand him a USB with that file on it, and see, head up to Ottawa on a day off. Go to Chris Neal's office, have a seat. Maybe we'll call in Brian McGrattan. I know he was there at F camp, and we can learn to stay on our feet a little bit. But he's a big, strong kid, and it's going to be the first of a few. It's great to see he's willing. That fight took place in the first 30 seconds of the home opener.
That's awesome. Hey, the Bay of Quinte people, they deserve a show.
Oh, yeah, and those country folk out there don't mind a good scrap on a Saturday night. They got a few because George McPhee's kid, I think Graham McPhee, he got in a fight. And then another one of the new additions, Josh Curry, got another tilt. So the B-Sens got a 5-4 win. And look, this is just the new ownership, again, showing face. But the Belleville Sens posting this morning, and you can also go see that on their social media, that they made plaques. And I'm actually going to pull it up. It's 3 friends of the show, so we got to represent them here on it, but it was for different reasonings, and I'll find the reasonings here as well. So the Sens organization recognized Mandalese for his first NHL game last year, Tyler Clevin for his first NHL game and first point, and Igor Sokolov's first NHL goal. So that's pretty cool there. I want to zoom in on these plaques a little bit too.
That's awesome, right?
Like, it just shows different moments throughout the game, and they don't have Igor with us at the Glebe Central Pub on there, surprising. But all these are it's just the little mementos that go a long way, I think, for players as well that are coming up with the system. They see these, and and it also reminds them of great moments from last year that they had in the organization. So stick taps to the Sens for going and making sure that the kids got a memento from those impressive milestones in their careers.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's the thing. Look, it may seem like little things, but these little things add up and they pile up into big changes. So you got to shout out the Michael Andlauer ownership group. They've been doing some noticeably things different, and it's awesome.
It really is. So we'll have more on Belleville. Their next game is coming up this Wednesday. They're on a bit of a homestand. So if you're in the Bay of Quinte area, go check them out. They're 2-1 on the season. And hopefully they can get in the playoffs and get their first playoff win, which is something that's evaded them for years past. All right. That's all for today. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Senators. A reminder, you can follow the show on social media at Sen Central on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have reached 6,800. The road to 10,000 continues. Thank you for being with us, whether it's been for one episode or 900. We would be nothing without the citizens and the passion for this organization. Thank you to Nick DeFazio for coming on today's show. Really excited about the future of the Fire helmet. For today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.